For this piece, we start with a very light setup on wood-free paper using a soft pencil. First, we lay down the outer boundary lines to lock in the head's overall placement top, bottom, left, and right. Then, we pull a main center line straight through the hairline, nose, lips, and chin. These are the longest lines in the whole drawing for a reason. Longer lines give you maximum gesture and mass. Think of it this way. The longer the line, the stronger the simplification. Shorter lines lose that big picture summary. But their superpower is precision. The shorter the mark, the higher the accuracy. That's why during the early block-in phase, you've got to be bold, carve out what you see using long, confident straights. At the end of the day, drawing and observation are inseparable. In fact, if you weaken one, you break that symbiotic relationship, and your expressive power takes a hit. So, to all my fellow artists out there, build this habit early, hit that subscribe button. Train your artist's eye, and learn to reshape everything you draw through effortless, deep observation. Drawing clean, fluid lines is the ultimate pursuit for every artist, and honestly, the smoother your line work, the better. There's a famous story about a painter who worshipped Albrecht Dürer's legendary line quality. He went straight to Dürer's studio just to ask for his brushes, genuinely believing that holding Dürer's tools would magically give him Dürer's lines. But here's the reality. The tool doesn't matter nearly as much as how you use your body. Controlling line length comes down to one thing: the free, coordinated movement of your fingers, wrist, elbow, and shoulder. Every single stroke, even the shortest mark, should be born from fluid motion. When you use your shoulder as your primary pivot point, your lines become instantly confident and precise. Here's how you actually balance those 4 joints. Finger movement: lightly rest your pinky on the paper as a stability anchor, so your hand glides smoothly. Just remember, this range is super limited, so don't force long lines with your fingers. Wrist movement: keep an eye out for accidental line arc. Wrist rotation naturally tends to curve your strokes. Elbow and shoulder movement: unlocking these joints gives your line work maximum range and freedom. Mastering the full freedom of all 4 pivot points is what gives your marks true dynamic flexibility. Just like most art forms, mastering line work is all about gradual progression, building layer upon layer. Our real goal here is to train flexibility and muscle memory. The more naturally your fingers, wrist, elbow, and shoulder move together, the fewer barriers stand between your mind and the paper. Think about dancers and musicians. They pour countless hours of sweat into honing their raw physical technique. We artists are no different. Eventually, you'll reach a point where every stroke becomes second nature, completely effortless and unified. That's the exact moment your work gains undeniable authority and presence. Expressing yourself shouldn't be your starting goal. It's the organic reward that comes after you've gained total, effortless control over your lines, even without Dürer's brushes. Now, we transition into the pen and ink stage. Ask any artist, and they'll tell you the exact same thing. Creating a sense of true 3D depth is the hardest challenge in drawing, and portraits are no exception. Unlike sculptors who work directly in physical space, traditional painters and sketchers operate strictly within the visual realm of a flat 2D page. At the end of the day, isn't that our primary goal here? To carve out a convincing illusion of 3-dimensional mass on paper. But here's the good news. We're already halfway there. We've laid down a razor-sharp pencil block-in, anchored by strong expressive long straights and reinforced by high-precision short lines. If you want your portraits to truly command authority and presence, there is simply no better anchor than a pair of captivating eyes. So let's dive right in. And start with the eyes. The eye structure can get wicked complex, even a tiny head turn completely shifts its geometry. That's why, to start, you've got to strip away the detailed anatomy and simplify the whole region. Think of the eyeball as a solid sphere cushioned in fat pads, protected by the orbicularis oculi muscle. As time passes, fat loss deepens that orbital socket. But remember, the spherical curve of the eyeball dictates the form of both upper and lower eyelids. Oh, and a quick functional note. When one pupil shifts toward the inner corner, the other pupil moves toward the outer corner. They move as a locked pair. Time is tight today, so I won't go too deep into this right now. I'll drop a dedicated full masterclass on eye structure and mechanics very soon. Beginners always fall into the trap of thinking portraiture is the hardest art form out there, especially drawing eyes. Honestly, it's just not true. Just like any other subject, all the visual info you need is right there in front of you. Every drawing simply demands basic perceptual skills. The only real difference with portraiture: complexity and feedback loop speed. If you mess up a tree branch in a landscape, nobody notices. If you misplace a facial feature by a millimeter, your brain catches it instantly. When it comes to basic head proportions, the human face breaks down into 3 equal vertical zones: hairline to brow, brow to nose base, and nose base to chin. As a quick rule of thumb, the width of the nose matches the exact space between the inner corners of the eyes. Now, the nose is a tricky form. Its silhouette changes drastically depending on your angle, because the nose sits right on the front plane and the ears anchor the side planes. Experienced portrait artists love to link them together to lock in spatial depth simultaneously. Here's a crucial alignment check. The axis of the nose stays strictly perpendicular to the eye and brow line. If the brows tilt, the nose tilts right along with them. And if the head pitches forward toward you, the chin foreshortens and gets partially overlapped by the nose structure. Functionally, the mouth behaves almost identically to the eyes at their core. Both are essentially slits carved into a ring of circular muscle. The same mechanical principles apply to both. Imagine cutting a slit into a hollow rubber ball with zero pressure. It stays naturally closed. Apply pressure from the inside, and it pops open. For the mouth, the gravity of the lower jaw alone is enough to drop it open. Opening your mouth wider takes active muscle effort, whereas keeping it resting closed takes virtually none. Mastering these simple mechanical realities gives you a huge edge as a portrait artist. It helps you render subtle lip compression and jaw tension with real organic accuracy. Now, while ear anatomy might look intimidating at first glance, trust me, it's actually one of the most rewarding features to master. Once you practice sketching ears from various angles, and especially when you can draw them accurately from memory, you're pretty much home free. This is the perfect time to dive into basic ear anatomy and get familiar with the key landmarks: the helix, the antihelix, the concha, that inner bowl, and the tragus. Knowing these specific forms gives you total freedom to express what you're actually seeing rather than just guessing. Honestly, don't be surprised if mastering the ear turns out to be your very first big victory in the battle of drawing facial features. And there you have it. Frodo Baggins constructed from a raw pencil block into a fully volumetric pen and ink portrait. Remember, mastering line quality and 3D facial forms doesn't happen overnight. It's all about building the right physical habits, understanding the underlying geometry, and trusting the process. If you found value in today's masterclass, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and tell me in the comments below Which facial feature or character should we deconstruct next? Keep practicing, keep your lines fluid, and I'll see you in the next lesson.